There was an in-depth piece, like a behind-the-scenes piece, talking about how they've been in a full meltdown about this girl for a couple of years now. Said she hated Snow White, mocked the fact that there was a prince, and that she falls in love as opposed to leaning into her own power. We could go on. They postponed the release of this thing, Ben, for a year because their star, Rachel Zegler, was so unlikable.
Snow White, the timeless Disney icon, now stands at the center of a heated storm of controversy. Megyn Kelly and Rachel Zegler have locked horns, and their feud threatens to overshadow the upcoming live-action remake. How did we get here? And can Disney salvage its beloved classic?
They've been in a full meltdown about this girl for a couple of years now, and how they had her tweet out like a little, "Yay, Snow White, can't wait, so excited, I love to play her."
From its debut in 1937, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs has held a special place in Disney's catalog, marking the beginning of what would become a global entertainment empire. Children and adults alike fell in love with the story of a sweet, kindhearted princess rescued by a charming prince and aided by seven dwarfs, who embody the power of friendship for many decades. Audiences cherish the original film as a beloved piece of cinematic history.
And she did it and got like millions of views, and they were like, "Good job, Rachel." And then she, like minutes later, followed it up with, "And never forget, free Palestine." This is just like a few months after 10/7.
Fast forward to the present day, and Disney has been on a roll, reimagining its classic animated stories as live-action blockbusters. Some, like The Lion King and Beauty and the Beast, soared at the box office, earning mixed critical reviews, but generally pleasing audiences who showed up for the nostalgia factor. Others, such as Mulan, ran into heavier cultural and critical headwinds. Yet none of these reimaginings have seen quite the level of scrutiny and controversy swirling around Snow White, and much of that turmoil has been pinned on the film's star, Rachel Zegler.
She's now bragging about the success of Snow White, which is a movie that's going to lose hundreds of millions of dollars, and mainly because of her, and because nobody wanted to support her.
Noted for her breakout role in Steven Spielberg's West Side Story, Zegler was tapped to play the iconic princess in an attempt to modernize this nearly century-old fairy tale. At first, it seemed like a natural step for Disney to combine Zegler's rising star power with a cherished property. However, public comments by Zegler soon ignited fiery debates. Enter Megyn Kelly, a well-known media figure unafraid to voice strong opinions on cultural flashpoints. Kelly has openly criticized Zegler's remarks about the original Snow White, particularly her characterization of the 1937 classic as old-fashioned and in need of moral correcting. Over time, these criticisms snowballed, and stories emerged of possible friction between Zegler and her co-star, Gal Gadot, allegedly. Tensions grew so severe that scheduled promotional events and photo shoots became difficult to organize. Meanwhile, fans, media outlets, and industry insiders scrutinized every social media post, every interview, searching for any small detail that might confirm or deny the rumored meltdown. Disney's attempts to quell the chatter seemed futile, and the upcoming film turned into a cautionary tale about the challenges of remaking a classic. When personal convictions, public expectations, and corporate interests collide.
One of the 18 hours I am in the Snow White dress, I expect to get paid. If it's 18 hours, I want 18 hours of pay. I'm sure she got underpaid as a Disney lead actress.
Megyn Kelly's prime contention centers on Rachel Zegler's public posture toward the classic story and her outspoken political convictions. Kelly has repeatedly suggested that the actress's behavior is effectively torpedoing the film's chances of success, both financially and in the hearts of Disney's traditional family audience. Some of Kelly's key points include disparaging the original. Kelly views Zegler's critique of the 1937 film as a direct affront to longtime Disney fans. Many critics would argue an update as fair times do change, but Kelly believes Zegler crossed a line by framing the original story as morally lacking or backward. Misalignment with Disney's brand. According to Kelly, Disney thrives on nostalgia and family-friendly charm, openly decrying the time-honored princess narrative or ridiculing elements, like the Princess Rescue cuts against the comforting ethos audiences associate with Disney. On set feuds and unprofessional conduct, Kelly highlights gossip about Zegler walking out of photo shoots, skipping co-star Gal Gadot's charity event, and stirring up tension behind the scenes. Whether these details are fully accurate or somewhat exaggerated, the narrative is that these riffs harm the film's publicity campaign, alienating the fan base. Kelly believes that modernizing a classic can be handled more gracefully, without scolding fans about their affinity for a beloved old film. By taking a condescending tone, Zegler and Kelly's view risks pushing away the very audience a Disney remake relies on. Potential box office consequences. Finally, Kelly warns that all this bad press could lead to a box office disaster. If families feel uncomfortable or view the film as politically lecturing, they might decide to skip the theater, especially given recent Disney disappointments.
This weird feminist thing where her heroine cannot be in love or be saved by a man, the prince, that she's more focused on becoming the leader she was meant to be, as if women in modern day America must make that choice.
Zegler has also been vocal about her views on female empowerment, claiming that the new film corrects certain outdated tropes. One such example is the notion that Snow White needs saving from a prince, a notion Disney itself has toyed with revising. In other remakes, Kelly, however, lampoons this attitude as a form of modern-day feminism that tries to eradicate all romance or male heroism from the equation. She questions why a woman can't be both strong and in love.
People have real problems and no one gives a shit if she got paid for 17 instead of 18 on her multi-million-dollar salary, which is not calculated by the hour.
This ideological tug-of-war has given birth to memes, social media spats, and endless discussions on various talk shows. Some fans appreciate the attempt to reshape the storyline for the 21st century, while others feel it's heavy-handed and robs the fairy tale of its original charm. The segment of Disney fans that simply wants to enjoy the story without ideological baggage finds itself caught in the middle.
And if she hadn't have opened her mouth, I think that this movie might have done well. They might have just been able to ride on the hopium of the movie and some well-cut trailers, and people would have paid to go see it, and then it would have fallen off when people knew it was garbage.
Gal Gadot, revered by many for her portrayal of Wonder Woman, plays the evil queen in Snow White. Gadot's own political stances, particularly regarding issues in the Middle East, have attracted both support and controversy. Rumors suggest that Zegler's strong convictions about international politics might have led to friction with Gadot's well-publicized viewpoints. A reported snub at a charity event honoring Gadot fueled speculation that the two leads simply do not get along.
Rachel Zegler made it so hateable that you really sabotaged and took hundreds of millions of dollars from the studio. I don't know how anyone would ever want to go into business with her ever.
Megyn Kelly sees Gadot's more reserved response to the swirl of drama as strategic and prudent. By not publicly stoking the flames, Gadot has largely avoided the negative press that is zeroed in on Zegler. Kelly contends that in a massive Disney production, part of the job description is maintaining an image of unity. Disagreements and personal convictions are best handled privately to avoid the exact meltdown that now engulfs Snow White. For decades, Disney has built its reputation on providing comforting, uplifting escapism. The entire company identity revolves around magical kingdoms, heroes, and storytelling that resonates with families across generations. When controversies dominate headlines, be they related to ideology, cast feuds, or questionable production decisions, Disney's squeaky clean facade risks tarnish.
Where Steven Spielberg and co. were demanding that she prove how Latina she really is, since her name doesn't sound Latina, and she was angrily saying, did I have to bring in my little abuelita for you to believe that I was Latina?
Megyn Kelly's critique taps directly into that fear, suggesting that every new revelation about caste clashes and scathing remarks further distances Snow White from the wholesome nostalgia fans expect. If the public perceives that the heart of the film is overshadowed by behind-the-scenes drama, the product is no longer just a whimsical fairy tale. It becomes a battleground of political statements and personal vendetta, something many families aim to avoid when choosing a movie. Night Dot furthermore, a major flop at the box office could force Disney to reevaluate how it handles future live-action adaptations. Each time Disney attempts these remakes, the plan is to merge established brand recognition with updated storytelling. The success of that formula depends heavily on winning over both old-school Disney aficionados and a new generation seeking modern themes. If Snow White fails, executives may scale back or become more cautious about who they cast and how vigorously they pivot from the classic narrative.
Don't alienate half of the country when you're putting out a product meant to appeal to all. It's the Michael Jordan Republicans buy sneakers too.
Major film productions allocate considerable resources to publicity, red carpet events, press junkets, social media campaigns. Everything is designed to assure the public that the cast is cohesive and enthusiastic. In this instance, the meltdown has overshadowed the planned marketing blitz instead of conversations about the visual effects, the set design, or the newly arranged musical numbers. Entertainment headlines spotlight the personal jabs and rumored animosity. This shift in focus could be disastrous. Even if the final product is visually stunning and well acted, the swirling negativity might precondition viewers to watch with skepticism. People could go into the theater hunting for signs of tension or checking whether certain lines of dialogue reflect a hyper-political stance. In other words, the meltdown narrative becomes a lens that may overshadow any genuine merit the film offers.
So, I mean, this woman has clicked every box. And just for cherry on top at the end, she gave an interview last week talking about how they were basically a bunch of white supremacists on the set of West Side Story.
Box office bomb. The worst case scenario is that families decide the controversies are off-putting, leading to meager ticket sales. If the budget is large, which is almost certain for a Disney film of this magnitude, poor returns could result. and a massive financial loss, premature transition to streaming. If Disney executives sense that the film might not perform well in theaters, they could opt to place Snow White on Disney Plus sooner than planned. This might minimize the embarrassment of an extended theatrical flop, but it also diminishes the film's prestige and potential earnings. Moderate success despite controversy. There's always the possibility that curiosity could boost ticket sales. Controversies sometimes pique public interest, resulting in a decent box office run. Still, the scenario would require that general audiences overlook the drama and embrace the remake purely for entertainment's sake. Rachel Zegler's reputation. No matter how the film performs, Zegler's image could take a significant hit. Megyn Kelly has repeatedly labeled her as unlikable and suggests this meltdown can make studios wary of hiring Zegler in the future. Whether those predictions come true depends on how the public interprets her statements and whether any genuine damage control is undertaken.
That's her thanks to Steven Spielberg, who discovered her and made her. So she's an ingrate, she's annoying, and I think she's probably 2 and done.
Lessons for future productions. The entire fiasco offers a roadmap of pitfalls for studios and actors alike. Respect the source material, while modernization is inevitable. Dismissing beloved classics can alienate an audience that cherishes the original. Professional unity. Large-scale productions demand a sense of camaraderie, even if only for show. Public clashes can eclipse the creative work and hand. Brand alignment. When working with Disney, especially on a beloved IP, personal convictions might need to be communicated with extra care, lest they conflict with the company's magical image. Handling controversy. In the age of social media, every interview or post is scrutinized. Knowing when to keep certain opinions private can make or break a promotional campaign.
So she just encapsulates everything that most of us cannot stand about modern day feminism and the left in general.
The drama engulfing Disney's live-action Snow White remake has turned a once promising film into a spectacle overshadowed by ideological battles and personality clashes. Megyn Kelly's pointed critiques target Rachel Zegler's handling of a role steeped in nostalgia and tradition. Between accusations of unprofessional conduct, politically charged social media posts, and jabs at the 1937 original, the production has stumbled into a PR catastrophe. Whether Snow White emerges in theaters to critical acclaim, struggles to break even, or quietly transitions to streaming, the conversation so far is focused less on the magic of the fairy tale and more on the backstage meltdown. In an entertainment landscape where audiences often seek a few hours of pure escapism, this entanglement of politics, personal beliefs, and brand image sends a warning flare to Hollywood at large. Tread carefully when remaking iconic classics. You're not just retelling a story, you're presiding over decades of audience memories, emotional investment, and sky-high expectations. One misstep, and the enchanting transformation can become a very public, very expensive fiasco. Ultimately, the greatest tragedy may be for the hard-working crews, costume designers, set builders, visual effects teams whose diligent efforts might never get the spotlight they deserve. Overshadowed by controversies involving the film's star, only time will tell if Disney and its cast can restore the public's faith and recapture the timeless wonder once promised by a simple fairy tale named Snow White.